fame attracts people who want to be seen and unfortunately don't have substance. I think,
Hey, so many names came to my mind when you said that.
Right? It's crazy how that happens.
Inda Barimini, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Welcome to the biggest podcast in SA. Today I'm joined by Loyiso, Macdonald, aka Kagiso Koza. The one and only. have you brushed up on your vernac? Because last time we did the love life thing, you said.
Oh yeah. No, I haven't.
For real?
I mean,
I found that strange, dog. How can you not know any vernac, bro?
I know some vernac, but it's like I'm not fluent. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't raised speaking any one particular language. It was just mostly English.
So what were you speaking in Pinetown?
English.
Yeah. Even with your friends?
Yeah, English.
Shit.
I'm a stubborn mofo like that.
And then what vernac can you speak? Even though it's not
a little bit of Xhosa, a little bit of Zulu. You know, growing up in KZN. You know,
say some Zulu for us there.
It's Zulu, yo, Kusam.
That's it.
That's better up. I wouldn't push it that far. But no. It's just, I guess, yeah. Growing up in the household I grew up in, it was just mostly English.
Who did you grow up with? Like both parents were just like.
So it was my mother, my stepfather, and
you grew up with your stepfather.
My brother, yeah.
What was your dad?
Who the fuck knows?
You don't know, bro.
Dad, wherever you are. I'm kidding.
We'll put a missing sign.
Yeah.
For real, dog.
Yeah. I mean, my parents. Yeah, that relationship fell apart. I think before I was even born. So it was just one of those things.
And you've never met him?
No.
What?
Yeah.
And
but that's not unusual, though.
Yeah,
I mean, SA. Unfortunately, it's the scourge of SA. You know.
Well, at least I've seen my dad, but it's pretty much the same story. But at least I've seen him.
Fair enough. Yeah.
So when you ask your mom, like, "Where's my dad?" Did you ever ask her, like, growing up?
I think when I was younger, and I mean, she was very open about it. So we'd have that conversation. So I always knew, you know what I mean? So I guess at a certain point in my life, it just stopped being a question, you know. I was just like, okay.
And it's all you know.
It is what it is, you know what I mean?
So would you say your stepfather's the one like that had a father figure?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they still
he was always there. Yeah, still together now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Must be crazy having like a stepmom or like a stepfather.
If it's all you know, it's not so crazy, you know, because again, I always understood the family dynamic, you know, growing up. So there was nothing weird or that felt unusual, you know, because again, it's all I knew.
Did he ever like beat you up and shit?
No, never.
Couldn't do any of that.
Never. Yeah, even my mom. I mean, she was never big on hitting us growing up.
Where do cheese boy?
Yeah. I mean, I had my phase when I was a really naughty kid, but the only beating up that was getting done was at school, you know, and then that stopped.
Oh, so you were getting beaten up at school?
Yeah. Teachers were whacking my ass because I was full of shit, man. You know, I was a little kid. You know, always in fights and just messing around.
But you were never the bully.
No.
I
was never the bully. I was never bullied. Yeah. But I was definitely a little troublemaker at a certain period in my life. And then I just grew out of it. It's a weird thing. It's funny, when corporal punishment stopped, that's when I grew out of it.
And then isn't like when you're in the hood and you're speaking English and everybody's speaking vernac, don't they say like, no?
I'm sure they do, you know, but no one says it to my face, you know, so... And again, who cares?
Yeah.
You know, I don't live for other people. You know, I never
so
have.
You were born in Pinetown, ne?
Born in East London. Grew up in Pinetown, yeah.
And then when did you move to Durban?
So I moved to Durban when I started working in theatre. So that's well after high school. I think I was around 20.
Oh, okay.
It was around 2021 that I moved out of home and then lived in Durban. Because Pinetown's only like, what, 20-something Ks away from Durban. So I realized very quickly that, it's time to get independent. I was starting to get some work in theater, so it made sense. It felt like the right thing to do, to just be out on my own, figuring it out.
So you didn't move with the family? It wasn't a family.
No, I to the family moved from the Eastern Cape when I was about 4 to KZN. So yeah, KZN is what I know. Pinetown, Durban. But yeah, when I started working properly, I moved out of the house and I was like, okay, cool. I need to figure this acting thing out. And we'll see what happens. You know what I mean?
And is your stepdad and your mom okay, what the fuck is this acting? You should be a doctor.
Well, they partly to blame. Like we were talking about music earlier.
We can't afford the course.
No, it was they in a good way. I mean, they exposed my brother and I to a lot of different forms of art. I mean, we used to go to museums, we used to go to theater growing up. At home, we're exposed to all sorts of different kind of genres of music, jazz, classical.
What's the first theater you see?
Oh my word! First play I ever saw, I think it was an opera. Could have been the Nutcracker or something like that. But by then I'd done like school plays.
Oh, so it makes sense.
So I was really young. Yeah.
Because I'm thinking at that age, what the fuck is an opera?
Exactly. You know what I mean? So we were exposed to all of this stuff growing up, and a lot of like art house cinema growing up. My stepfather is a huge fan of Ingmar Bergman, one of the greatest filmmakers, ever. And so it was weird, like that kind of growing up in that environment, we were soaking in a lot of what we were experiencing, when it comes to art. I mean, my brother's involved in music, more behind the scenes stuff. But it shouldn't have shocked them that the two of us would both end up not in 9-to-5 jobs.
Who's more successful now, you or your brother?
I don't know.
I think it's you.
No,
I don't
really?
know him. I don't know him.
Well, maybe that's by design, you know what I mean? Well, we're both successful in the sense that we're both doing what we want to do.
Yeah, he's in Joburg.
Yeah, he's in Joburg now as well.
Yeah.
And he's working, been busy.
Whose music is he working on now?
I ain't gonna tell you what he's working.
Come on.
We'll figure that out one day. You might have already run into him and you didn't know it was him. So
that's crazy. Yeah. So when you're in Durban, right? Okay, like focusing on theater. Is this when you start doing the call center thing?
So the call center thing was like right after high school.
Oh,
where I was in that period where I was like, okay, what am I going to study? What am I going to do? Because I still didn't know. I had no idea what I was going to do. But I realized very quickly that, again, it's that independence thing where I wasn't just going to sit around at home doing nothing. So why not just get a job in the meantime? And that's how the call center thing happened. And that's how I ended up at the bank as well.
Geez, that must be.
And then
that sounds terrible.
Oh yeah, no, it was. I mean, it was an income. It allowed me to start earning my own money, learning how to manage my own money as much as possible.
Yeah.
And get some form of independence. And then, yeah, because of that, it pushed me into like, okay, what the hell am I going to do now?
Because I remember just like you, after high school, I was just looking for part-time jobs.
Yeah.
Went to this one call center in Rosebank. As soon as I walked in, there was about 20 of us because they recruit you in numbers.
Yeah.
And then the manager, whoever was showing us around, is like, "Hey, Stefan, come here. Tell him how much you made last month." And Stefan's like, 40K. I'm like, this is a scam. This is a scam. How the fuck you make 40K from call center? Like, who the fuck? What?
Yeah, no, we got sold those dreams as well. Obviously, it's sales. It's horrible.
How long did you last there?
Man, I think I did like 6-7 months at the call center.
Wow.
And then
did you make the 40K?
Around, please. And then I probably did around the same at the bank. And then ended up back at the call center after the bank. And that was the final push. Now I was like, okay, no, no more of this shit. I can't do this.
So at that
I got
time,
to figure something out. This can't be it, you know.
so but at that time, are you now still venturing into the theater acting thing, or it's
No.
like it's on standstill?
That's it. It's not even in the picture. So it's that work experience really that pushed me into, okay, Loy, what are you gonna do though? Like, what do you want to do? That was the first question. Like, what do you want to do? What would you enjoy? Because this isn't enjoy. I want the opposite of what I'm doing now, essentially. And I looked at it. I went back and I was like, okay, cool. What do I enjoy doing? Acting. Acting is good. I've done some acting. It seems to come naturally to me. But can you do it as a career in South Africa? It wasn't a thing. I mean, at that point, I was still like, okay, Hollywood.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. All we had is generations.
Exactly. You know, but it still didn't click that you can make it a viable career in South Africa. So the next step then is to start researching and going, okay, cool. What would it take to go down this path? And this is after I'd already quit. So I was just like, okay, no. So I kind of forced myself to do something about it. You know what I mean? So I left without having a backup plan. Now it was like, okay, dude, you've got to make something happen, you know? And then eventually that led me to a small film school in Durban. Again, I was there like 6 months.
Yeah, but rather than 6 months. Even
Yeah, you know what I mean? But I was there for like 6 months because I joined like halfway through the year. But I kind of left it going, I'm not really learning. It's not challenging me enough. And literally the last thing I did at that school was a play, funnily enough. We put on a little skit show that we managed through our drama lecturers' contacts to get put on at Isibaya Casino at the Izulu Theatre there. And so I started 2008 doing this skit show, or finished 2007 doing the skit show. And the very last performance, a theatre director, producer was in the audience and hung around afterwards, invited some of us to come and audition for his theatre company.
Shit.
And then started doing children's theatre there, performing for kids and doing really high energy kind of stuff. And then went to more auditions and more people.
And you don't
saw
have an
me
agent at this time?
No, I mean in theatre in Durban, you don't really. Theatre in general, you don't really need an agent. You know, in the States, I'd say you'd need an agent. In the UK, even you'd need an agent because the industry is so much bigger. But in South Africa, you don't really need an agent for theatre, I'd say.
Would you say you need to study acting? Because like a lot of people want to be in the scene.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's the fame or the perceived money and hype around it.
Yeah.
Do you think training and...
Absolutely. You know, and here's where I think a lot of people get confused. Where I'm not a spokesperson for universities and you know, tertiary institutions when it comes to art. With acting, you don't need a degree to be an actor, right? You don't need a diploma to be an actor. Some of the most famous actors on the planet have a certificate at best. I look at some of my heroes, you know, who often quit acting. I mean, Leo DiCaprio is one who comes to mind. Didn't study acting, high school dropout.
Fucking good.
But the studying element is still there because you're still doing workshops, you're still doing some sort of training wherever you can find it, you know. And again, in other countries, there's more access to that kind of thing that isn't so formal as a degree or diploma, but you're picking up valuable skills in terms of what is acting, what is my responsibility as an actor, what do I bring to it, how do I do this thing? Whereas I find with varsities and you know, with degrees and diplomas, you've got more theory than anything else. So you'd make a great lecturer, you'd make a great trainer of actors, and you have the theoretical background of, I don't know, art history, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, the history of theater and like where Japanese, you know, kibuki comes from, or you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But practically, you're not going to use any of that. Heath Ledger is another one that comes to mind.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic actors who don't have a degree to their name.
Yeah.
So then you have to look further than that and go, okay, well, what makes great acting then? If it's not a degree, it's not a diploma, what is it? And it's simple. It's just you need certain skills. You need to learn to use your body, to relax your body. You need to learn to use your voice. You need to learn to analyze text, because acting, first and foremost, is an intellectual. It starts in the mind, in the sense that
For real.
it's not art.
For real.
The first thing you do as an actor is you pick up a script,
Yeah.
right? You have to analyze text,
Okay.
analyze literature. So you think back to like high school,
And bring it to
when
life.
exactly, and you were going through poems and Shakespeare and all of that, and comprehension and all, like, you know, you have to glean information from this piece of paper that an author, scriptwriter has put there. So you have to glean information from a piece of paper first and foremost before there's any acting involved. Because if you're in front of the camera, what are you doing then if you haven't gone through the text? So it always starts with the text. So first and foremost, you have to understand how to analyze text and read between the lines and understand figures of speech, because you could miss subtle things that a writer is doing in a script
For real.
purely because you skipped or you weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
You know, when they were analyzing, you know, whoever's poem back in high school. And those are the things that I drew on when I started, because I didn't have a degree. I didn't have all of that, but I understood text. I understood what it meant to read something and glean information from it. And then the acting comes after that. Then it's just your imagination and using those skills, you know, working with a camera, you know what I mean? Basic technical things like that.
Would you say there's a difference between what you do now in theater?
At its base, no. It's still acting. It's just the format is different, right? So in theater, this is how I always like to explain it to people, is in theater, for example, you could be in an auditorium with like a 600-seater auditorium. The only people who are seeing your facial expressions are literally in the first few rows.
Yeah, true.
Right?
Yeah.
After that, nobody can see your face. I mean, you could literally you could sit in the back row, put out your thumb and cover the actor who's on stage, because that's how small they are, right? So making facial expressions, you know, pulling faces isn't going to help you express an emotion. So what else do you have? You have your voice, you have your body, right? So body language plays a huge part,
especially during the sex scenes. Yeah.
Well, you would go there, but
I'm just there for the sex.
But in everything, you know what I mean. So yeah, it's acting, but it's using different skills. It's requiring different technique. Whereas with camera, you know, you can be in a close up, a mid, or whatever.
So do you
and
have
really
to
hone in on subtleties?
Do you always have to remember that when you're shooting the Queen?
Of course. If you can't be on set without wasting everybody's time, without understanding basic things about different shots, for example.
So when you see someone who you can see does not understand all that you just explained, isn't that infuriating?
It depends. Is it because the person hasn't bothered to learn for themselves? Because you can pick up a phone and go onto the internet and learn some of these skills. It's not that difficult. But it has to start from a place of, I'm willing to learn. I want to learn. So it's either, if a person is willing to learn, but they just don't have access to that information, then you give them the information, right? But it's frustrating when a person has access to the information and is not willing to learn.
So you can tell when someone is just doing this for the fame.
Oh, of course.
Yeah?
Of course, yeah.
Who's that?
Even the audiences can tell.
Who was that?
Many people. Yeah. Many. Oh shit. No. It's become more and more not commonplace, but I think in the time that I've been working in TV, especially, I think the whole social media game has
exactly. That's
changed.
Another fact.
It's changed a lot. You know.
Yeah.
Where I still remember the first time I was asked how many social media followers I had.
At an audition.
At an audition, you know what I mean? And it threw me a little bit because I was like,
what does that have to do with acting?
It's got nothing to do with acting.
Mm-hmm.
And I understood what they were trying to do, but it hasn't worked. I think the industry as a whole can say that approach to it has not worked. Yeah. It doesn't bring in more audiences. It doesn't. If anything, it frustrates the audiences you already have because they're going, we want to see the best, right? We want to see people we enjoy seeing, people who make us engage with what they're doing on the screen.
Hence,
that's an actor's job. Yeah. Which even that I think is often misplaced. That movement, you know. I've got no issue with new faces coming in. Otherwise, some of us wouldn't even be sitting here right now. And the industry is always looking for new faces. It always has been looking for new faces. It's just that we're at a stage where I think people's interest in the industry has peaked so much.
Yeah.
But the avenues in terms of showing that talent are still the same. You know, except maybe in the last 2 years where like Netflix has come in.
Yeah.
Like the streaming sites have come in and they've kind of given more platforms
even
for
YouTube,
people to
some
even
extent.
YouTube to some extent. Absolutely. Whereas before, literally, it was ETV, SABC. Hell, even
Cake
when I
Net.
started, when I started, Mzansi Magic and all those channels didn't exist, right? So there were fewer and fewer platforms for actors to be seen. But then again, most of us started in theater, where you weren't really interested in that in the first place. So it kind of reveals what a person's looking for then.
Yeah.
Do they just want to be seen on TV or do they want to act? Because you can act away from the cameras, right? In theater, state theater is operational, right? Except now with the COVID situation, it's made things a little bit difficult. But the theaters, community theaters have been going for decades. And it's how a lot of people started.
Why do you think TV makes people go crazy, man? Because like, from me, like you're just a normal guy, but the moment you're on TV now, like, you know, it's like a whole, it's weird.
Man, it's fame. You know, I think fame attracts people who want to be seen and unfortunately don't have substance. I think, you know.
Hey, so many names came to my mind when you said that.
Right? It's crazy how that happens. But no, seriously, I think, and that's in any industry. Fame attracts people who want to be seen. Whereas, and I think TV is like the pinnacle of that in South Africa anyway. If we're in the States, we'd say it's film, right? But you only have to look at what kind of TV is produced. So, for example, we have how many different singing competitions. How many of those people actually make it into the industry? You know, it's not to say that they don't have talent, but do we really think that show is about producing talent, or is it about entertainment and seeing people fail often, seeing people make fools of themselves? It's reality TV in a nutshell, you know. And that's not what I do. What I do is act, and I would go to work and pretend to be somebody I'm not. And the audience knows that I'm pretending to be somebody I'm not. But if I do my job right, I get the audience member to engage with me pretending. They get to be part of this make-believe. Do you know what I mean? And that's an actor's job. Marlon Brando said it. The only job of an actor is not to be boring. And audiences can tell, because audiences are human beings, you know? We work as actors with human emotions. That's our tool. So if you're doing something that doesn't relate, that an audience can't relate to, it means that you're not tapping into something that's quite basic, which is human interaction, right? And it sounds more very complicated when I say it that way, but it really is that simple. My job is literally to try and get people to engage with something that maybe they wouldn't engage in. I mean, I play a drug dealer. Why would anyone have anything to engage with a
a
drug dealer.
yeah.
Person should be behind bars, right? But then that's the trick with human nature, is that you can empathize with Hitler. You can empathize with a Nelson Mandela. If you understand their story, you understand who they are. And that's where, as actors, we fit in. It's we're trying to get you to engage with sometimes even the worst parts of human nature. You know, I've played, some not so nice people. You know, people that you wouldn't want to interact with in real life. But through the work, we're asking you to do something deeper than that. We're asking you to engage with the worst parts of human nature, with anger, with feelings of vengeance and feelings of hatred. Not so that you feel sorry for the person that I'm playing, but so that maybe you look at things from a different perspective. That's all it is.
So when do you decide to come to Joburg?
I decided in, I think around 2010, I'd started thinking about coming to Joburg. I'd been doing theater at that point for a few years, and I wasn't tired of it, but as has happened many times in my life, I was ready for a new challenge, you know. And film was always calling to me, and working on camera was always calling to me, because I always felt that I was more suited to camera work, as opposed to the bigness that we spoke about of being on stage.
Yeah.
So I wanted to pursue that. So it was either Cape Town or Joburg. Those are the two options. And I looked at things and settled on Joburg. Started looking at agents.
One man.
Yeah. I mean,
where were you staying when you got to Joburg?
You know, well, when I moved here, I was staying opposite Carlton Center.
Carlton Center.
Yeah, I was dog.
I'm sure you got robbed a couple of times there.
Oh yeah, no, I got mugged a few times there in Joburg.
Hey Tim, could you have some drinks there?
Yeah. Good times. It's character building stuff.
And you didn't know anyone when you got the site.
No, I don't know anyone.
Shit. So like Carlton Center, you have to figure it out by yourself. Rosebank, Sandton, all these places.
Exactly. You know, you're taking taxis from Bree and Noord for the first time. You know, there's no network. Thank you, brother. There's no network of taxis that big.
Because Turf, he just came to Joburg for the first time 2 weeks ago, but at least we here, you know, so I can show him like this is Sandton, this is Midrand.
Which is the ideal way to do it, not
you
just
didn't
come
know
here.
anyone.
I knew no one.
And you weren't scared.
No, I wasn't scared. I was just I knew why I was here. You know, I knew why I was coming here, and I knew what I was trying to achieve. And I was lucky, to be fair, that yes, it was difficult. Like the first year I moved here, 2012, that I had to go live with my uncle in Pretoria, who was in the SANDF at the time.
You couldn't pay the bills anymore.
Yeah, man. I mean, I didn't work the whole year. I was going to auditions left, right, and center. Didn't get one job.
What did you audition for?
Oh man, I auditioned for everything.
Yeah.
I auditioned for things on ETV. I auditioned
What
for
shows?
things.
Backstage?
No, there was some new dramas that were coming out at the time.
The ones that are on TV now?
No, not anymore. But I mean, this is back in 2012. So, no, 2011 I moved here. First job was in 2012. So yeah, there were, I can't even remember how many auditions I went to. I mean, all my money was spent on transporting myself all over Joburg for auditions, you know. And I didn't land any gigs whatsoever. I mean, I was with a good agent. So I knew that it would come if I just persevere, you know what I mean? If I just stick it out.
But a year's a long time. That's 12
A year's a long
months,
time,
dog.
you know? So the only work I did in 2011 was back in theater in Durban. So I was lucky enough to, because I'd been working there for a while, I'd made enough contacts that I could reach out to and go, look, if there's anything coming up, just let me know, you know.
So after a year, aren't you like, fuck this shit, let me go back to call centering, let me get a bank here.
At that point, I was all in.
Yeah.
There was no way I was going back.
So there's something in you that's like,
it's like I'm gonna push up until, you know, I can't anymore. That was the only attitude I had, because again, there was no backup plan. There was nothing to fall back on.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful I took that approach, because it really did push me to persevere.
So what's the
Had I given up, you know what I mean, after that year, you know.
What's the first gig you land?
Isidingo.
Oh,
First gig was
Haynes.
you know what I mean?
Hey.
So I
first
started.
scene was with Barker, ne?
Yeah, it was. It was. No, wait. It was. I think the first scene I shot. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So the first time my character was met on TV was in the Sibeko household.
Yeah.
But the first scene I shot was with Linda Sokulu and Jack Devnarain. And then later on that day, after that scene, there was a scene with Linda again and Robert Whitehead. So my first day there was nerve-wracking as actor. Like I was, the only thing I had in my mind was I'm not going to be the weak link here. I refused to be the weak link. So I came there, I was prepared. I knew my scenes back to front.
When you auditioned, who was there? Who was auditioning for your character? Like famous people?
There was it's generally like you'll see the casting director, maybe a head writer,
so
maybe
you don't
a
see
producer.
the people that you are auditioning with?
Generally, no.
No, but don't you guys like chill outside when they call you like one by one?
Oh, but it's separate. So like I auditioned back when it was still at SABC, right? In Auckland Park. And they literally brought us to a separate room away from
everyone
set and you know where the studios were. So we walked into this room. I think there were about 6 or 7 guys there, all auditioning for this role.
You're fucking shaking, bro.
I felt calm. You know, I think by that point I'd been to so many auditions and been told.
You're like, oh, here's another one I'm not gonna get.
No, exactly. And to be honest, that's the approach. I mean, you go into an audition and you don't want to be thinking about, I hope that I get this job. I really no. You just walk into it. Whatever happens, happens. I'll show them what I can do. If it's what they're looking for, great. If it's not, sharp. On to the next one. So I literally walked in and out of that audition like, okay, cool. What's next? Like calling my agent. Yeah, went well. Whatever. What's next? And at that point it was December, so things were starting to like close down in Joburg. So I went for one round of auditions. And then there were callbacks. There were, I think, 2 rounds of callbacks.
Now you think,
and then they went on production break for the December holidays, right? So they're only back in January. And then in January, once they open, now I'm going, okay, I might have a chance here, you know. And then
be able to
only
move out
in
of Pretoria.
Exactly, you know, I might be working. Holy crap! And the whole time, you know, you're trying not to go crazy thinking about, oh, yeah, maybe I got it, you know. And it's only in January when they opened again that I got the call that, oh.
Who's the first person you called, bro?
I think I must have called my mother. Yeah, it was probably my mom to be like, oh, by the way, this happened.
Yeah.
You know, trying to act like completely chilled about the whole thing. Like, yeah. So I went to these auditions and yeah, I'm going to be on one of the biggest shows in the country.
Does money factor in? Does it matter to you at that time? Or are you just happy to get a gig,
no,
bro?
Dude, listen, we're not in the States here where you're going to make millions from acting, right?
Yeah.
And especially, I knew that the role was wasn't going to be there for a long time. It was literally a very short storyline. Once they sent through the scripts and I'd signed the contract and all that.
But your foot is in the door, bro.
Yeah, foot's in the door. That's the great thing. I just want to work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's it. I just want every opportunity to work and learn something new because this is my first like proper TV gig. I want to do it well. I want to apply myself as best as I can. And hopefully it'll lead to more work. And it did. I was very lucky. Yeah.
How was it?
I was the oldest guy there, for example.
Yeah.
Because I'd already been working in theatre for like 4 years at that point.
Yeah.
And I remember the other guys at the audition were a lot younger than me. Because the character was like 18. And I was 23 at the time.
Yeah.
So I'd already had a bit more experience than a lot of the other guys who were in the audition. So that worked in my favor.
How was it like working with Barker Haynes, bro?
Bro,
he's like a national treasure.
It was insane.
Bro.
I mean, all those people on Isidingo at the time, they'd put together a fantastic group of actors. I'd say the best actors in the country. They had the best writing team. You know, so I didn't feel like, oh gosh, this is just a step to get to
the Queen
somewhere else. You know what I mean? It was like, this is an honor, you know, and I need to do it justice. You know, I need to do my best here and not be the weakest link, like I said. Yeah.
So after Isidingo, is it Zabalaza that comes knocking?
No, Zabalaza was 2014. So after Isidingo, it goes quiet for a bit.
Does it?
My character.
You're back in Pretoria.
So my
It's tough being
character.
an actor, bro.
Ooh. So my character was literally there for a month at the first go around, and I didn't know if they had plans to bring the character back or whatever. So it's back to the auditions. The next thing I got was Intersections season 2.
Nice.
And then I finished off that year, having already gone back and forth with Isidingo because the character was now coming back. And ended off that year doing a comedy called Those Who Can't. So yeah, it kicked off well, and it just picked up from there. You
So
know.
from Intersections, we go to
Those Who Can't, which was a comedy show for SABC3. They were looking for a bunch of local comedy shows for a certain time slot, and a bunch of companies pitched ideas, and Those Who Can't was commissioned, and I was just, again, I was just looking forward to working with the people who I knew were already cast. And the style of it as well was different. It was done like The Office.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a
I
lot
love
of
The
that
Office, yeah.
cutting to camera. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
about awkwardness, finding these characters in really awkward
Yeah,
situations,
yeah.
which is where the comedy comes in, rather than punchlines. You know, and I always enjoyed playing comedy. You know, comedy was it's tough, but when you get it right, it's magic. You know what I mean? So I was looking for, and I was lucky again. I'd literally done a soapy beginning of the year. I went on to a pretty big drama series, a critically acclaimed drama series, and then finished off the year doing a comedic role on a show that I had a blast doing, you know. And then from there, things, you know, it was roughly the same. So it'd be quiet for a month or two, get some work, and then quiet for a bit and get some work. And then Zabalaza changed it because I was there for 2 years.
When does Rockville come?
Rockville was 2016, so it was just before we started shooting The Queen. The first time I was working with the Fergusons.
Oh, Rockville was the Fergusons.
Yeah. So they were doing season 3 at the time. I think it was season 3.
How do you meet the Fergusons?
I didn't. They just called me up one day and they're like, "Dude, we're keen to work with you. We've got this role on the next show that we're doing.
Who calls you?
We'd love for you to do it." It was Shona at the time.
Shana.
Yeah,
You
Shona
think this
called
is
me.
a prank, ne?
No, it took me a while because I was like, okay, I don't normally answer numbers that I don't have stored. You know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? It could be about work.
Yeah.
And it was about work, you know. So I did Rockville with them. And then they mentioned at the time that something else was coming later on in the year. We'll talk about that when it comes
to that, bro.
Yeah, you know.
Now you moved out of Pretoria.
Yeah, at this point I'm out of Pretoria. In Joburg now properly, you know, got my Opal. So I'm able to get myself around exactly.
Yeah.
And for all intents and purposes, life is good. You know what I mean?
When the Queen comes and you see the script and everything, are you like, fuck, this is gonna change my life because the Queen is huge right now? Or for you, it's just like, it's just another gig.
It's another gig, man. I mean, you try not to think about critical or financial success of something or how many people are going to be watching it. That's not my job. By the time people are watching it, I've stopped working long time ago.
So even if one person watches it, you're happy?
Yeah, I remember being, honestly,
fuck out of here.
I remember,
One person.
I still get paid at the end of the day. Because remember,
Hey, we're doing this for the love.
you know what I mean? I've gotten paid and my invoice has been sent, and by the time people are watching it or don't watch it, I'm already looking for the next gig. Do you know what I mean? So it's not my job to worry about how many people watch.
That's not.
It's if people watch, I want them to see something interesting. I want to give them something interesting.
Which role would you say, like, okay, now people in the streets are like, yo, fuck, we know Loyiso. People like want to take pictures, selfies.
I think the character on Isidingo did that.
Your
For the
first
first,
character.
yeah,
Wow.
the first one. I think just because I was a new face at the time, nobody knew who I was, and it was a really nice character to sink my teeth into and to kind of show what I can do. And then Zabalaza was a big character. People really responded well to that character, and now obviously the Queen.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good.
So how come you like I think you are one of the few characters that's never been fired from the Queen. You've been there from the beginning. What's the secret? What's the sauce? You got the sauce?
I really don't know, man. I don't know. Like, again, because of the way I kind of conduct myself when it comes to work, I don't get involved in the politics of it or whatever's going on behind the scenes. Like, literally, if you work with me, you'll see me just before my call time, and you'll see me when I'm getting into my car to leave. That's the only time you'll most likely see me, when I'm working. So I don't hang around for any other, bullshit. It's not worth it.
So that's how you've managed to stay on the Queen for so long.
Yeah, and I think it's why I've been able to, by keeping it professional, I've been able to oftentimes work with the same production companies over and over again, where you'll do a job, and if you do it well, they'll call you back if there's something to do.
Do you feel like the people that got fired were too much in the politics?
No, I don't think it was that, because because again, what politics? Like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? Like, unless somebody, look, it's TV. So if storylines change, fair enough. I mean, as actors, we all accept that. There's no guarantee that your character is going to be around for.
But take Dineo's
forever.
Dineo's situation, for example, Dineo Lang, where she got fired because she wanted to take leave.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, you don't give a fuck.
I don't know. No, it's not that I don't give a fuck. I mean, I'm friends with Dineo. I know her. I know her personally. I know her very well. Same thing with Rami. I mean, I'm good friends with these people.
Is it awkward when you go to set
from work?
The day after, like, let's say the Queen is trending for Dineo getting fired or SK's video, whatever. Is it awkward in set?
Yeah. Not for me. Because I think I try as much as possible to keep my personal life away from my work. The two don't need to meet up, right? And especially because of the kind of work that I do. I can't bring my personal life into acting. It's not really gonna work well, on camera. So I think, I don't know what decisions were made, why they were made, because I wasn't there. I know the aftermath.
Yeah.
I know the aftermath in terms of people losing their jobs but it's, again, all these people understand that it's the nature of the industry. You're not secured a position. Just because I have a year contract with Ferguson Films doesn't mean that you can get out of any contract with a month's notice, right? It's not set in stone,
Yeah, but imagine getting fired because you want to take leave.
Not my decision to make. You know what I mean? Again, it's like, if that was the decision, do you know what I mean? It's the producer's. It's up to the producer. It's.
And like you say, you go, you shoot, you fuck off.
I go, I shoot, I fuck off. And if that's not good enough to keep me employed, because a lot of other people do that too, and they are without work. So if go there, work, fuck off is good enough to keep me employed, then cool. If it's not, then clearly I'm not meant to be working here. Because clearly you're looking for something else. Do you know what I mean? Like, if me being a professional isn't good enough, then I don't know what you want. And maybe you're not going to get it from me. Maybe somebody else is what you need. Do you know what I mean? But that's not it's not for me to now change how I behave and how I work,
So if, let's say I am the Mukwebos. Yeah, I've got a production house, man.
Yeah.
And I ill treat you, right? As an employee. Are you the type of guy who say to my face or just come to work even though you're disgruntled and fuck off?
No, I'll speak up.
You'll speak up.
Yeah. I mean...
Have there been moments where you've spoken up?
Absolutely. I mean, with anything. I mean, again, because I value the work that I do, if there are problems, or if I have an issue with a particular thing, it could be storylines, it could be maybe the scripts need tightening, it could be, I just want to know where this character is going, what's coming up. I need more communication with that. Whatever I need to get the job done, I'll always bring that shit up. I don't keep quiet about those things. I because it affects my work. It affects the work that we do when we're on set.
Yeah.
So yeah, keeping quiet doesn't serve anyone. At the end of the day, because you're going to be stuck in a position where you're constantly unhappy. You wake up in the morning unhappy before you even get to set.
And that's not how you
And
should
it's
work.
a waste of time.
Yeah.
It's a waste
And
of
people
time.
can
Rather
see it on-
leave.
People can see it on screen.
Rather leave, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rather look for work somewhere else. And I've always, tried to keep that about myself. If I'm not happy in a particular situation, get out of there. Because I'm not serving anyone.
Are we at a point in the TV industry in SA where you can make a living generational worth? In terms of like, you were telling me the other day, like Big Bang Theory. Those guys get paid like $1 million per
episode.
episode. Are we at that point yet? Like where you can retire now for 10 years?
No, not even close.
For real, bro?
No, you can't even be out of work generally for 6 months in South Africa without proper. Like if the situation is ideal where you're coming off the back of a high paying gig, you're able to keep your living costs low. You're able to save up at least 3 months worth of your salary, right? If all those, things are in place and you don't get work for 6 months, you're still screwed.
How many months you got in your bank account to last you now? Let's say the Queen ends it now.
If it ends now, I'd probably get through till December, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Oh,
which isn't bad.
2 months in Dubai.
Yeah,
You
no,
fucked up
but
2 months.
yeah, no. Dude, I mean, because that's the thing. I've literally, like, we were talking about the car, and the car's just gone in for a service now. Major service, right? And yeah, the warranty is going to cover some of that, right? But because of the car that I picked, there's another thing. Because the car that I picked, and I knew this was part of the deal because it's just that type of car. That, if something does go wrong, I have to be prepared to cough out the money. But that's a choice that I made because I knew that I wanted to pay it off as quickly as possible. So I knew that I was in a position where, okay, all things equal, I should be able to pay this off as quickly as possible. And once that's done, then I don't really have, I keep my costs very low, dog. Like I that's why I say, like by December, I wouldn't even wait. If I knew that the Queen was coming to an end now, I would have changed a bunch of things to make sure that, okay, what I have right now will last as long as it is. I'd get rid of the car. For example, the car, get rid of it, send it back to the bank.
So when do we get to a point? Because, dude, you're entertaining millions and millions of people every single day. The least you should be able to live comfortably and your kids and whatever.
Not going to happen.
When do we get to that point? What do you think needs to change in the industry right now?
Big things need to change. First of all, we need to sign legislation that makes sure that if a show is repeated, there are royalties paid. Right? Musicians have that right. And it's pretty much the same principle. Right now, the producers of the shows that we all like to enjoy on television don't own the shows they created.
For real?
No, they're owned by the broadcaster. That's the contract they sign with the broadcaster. In order for this idea that you have to be more than an idea and to be seen by people and to be commissioned and to be a working production, they buy it outright.
So it's like the masters debate that musicians have been having.
Exactly. Wow. So that's where it starts. We have to go, okay, let's look at our IP legislation, right? Because it affects not just actors and producers, it affects photographers, it affects what you do, it affects everybody.
Nah, we good, bro. We good over here.
Yeah, for now.
Super TV.
Oh, Gonja, congrats, by the way, dog.
Thanks, bro. I own the
No,
masters.
congrats. Amen. You see, that's the ideal situation, guys. But no, we're not nearly in that place. I mean, you can get paid, you can get paid a lot of money depending on who you are for acting on some of the biggest shows in the country, right? So you think of Scandal, you think of the big soapies.
Yes.
You can earn a lot of money if you have a year contract with them, right? But in comparison to how much the broadcaster is making per episode on those shows, and the fact that they can use them in any territory they want, for as long as they want, long after you're dead, you don't see a cent after that payment has come through. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a once-off payment.
Yeah, it's a once-off.
And it's done.
And they're going to make money from that. It's the masters.
Well, I mean, they're still repeating Zabalaza. I think it was up until...
And you don't get shit.
No, nobody gets it. The producer doesn't get anything from that. The people who created that show don't get anything from that.
Wow.
It all goes to the broadcaster. So that's the first thing that needs to change to make it sustainable. Because even if I die, as with music royalties, if I own the masters, I think it's up to like 50 years.
Yeah.
That it'll still pay through. That's huge.
Shit, dude.
Do you know what I mean? That's how you create generational wealth.
And that's why we keep seeing the same act, because they have to
work.
They have
if
to
you,
work.
You stop working, you stop earning money. There's no money that's still coming in once you stop working. So people, that's why I said I don't agree with the approach of the open up the industry thing, because it's geared at the wrong people. The issue is that there aren't enough platforms to have lots and lots of different shows with lots and lots of different actors at the same time. So the broadcasters, the producers are in a position where they go, how do I get as much traction from this show that I'm producing as possible? Well, I need to have some of the biggest names. All right, who can I afford?
Yes.
So we'll get a Loyiso if he brings in a certain, demographic, whatever.
Presley.
You know what I mean? You get the best actors you can. Because those actors need to serve the story. So you get the best actors you can because you know that they're going to serve the story, and you know that they're going to make what's on the screen interesting.
So can't you guys do what musicians do and go indie? And
we are indie already. If you think about it, I mean, we already indie in our approach to everything. The problem is with TV, you can't be indie in TV in South Africa unless you're working with maybe one of the streaming sites. So if you're talking about Netflix, that's another story. But again, Netflix buys it outright, right? So you're jumping from the
or if they're
the pen to
licensing,
the
you
fire.
need 10 million budget to shoot whatever it is.
Exactly.
Where are you going to get the 10 million?
Exactly. So you can produce it yourself if you can get together maybe 100K to shoot a film or a
short
story or something. But where do you go? Where do you take it? Because you can take it to a multi-choice or a Mzansi, but they want to own it outright. So,
because
YouTube is great.
Who's that girl, man, who started off on YouTube?
Chin up, Lara Lipschitz.
The black girl, Issa Rae? Is it Issa Rae?
Issa Rae.
Issa Rae, yes,
I was thinking locally.
Yes.
So
you were thinking locally.
I worked with Lara Lipschitz. She used to be a presenter on UTV, actually, way back. And so she self-produced a comedy show that did, I think, 2 seasons, on YouTube.
Okay. Funded everything.
Funded everything. And it got picked up by Showmax. How big that deal is, I don't know. Because I can already know that they don't pay much money for shows that they don't produce.
They don't own.
That they don't own. So, and it's not going to change. They're not doing anything illegal. You know what I mean? It's just there's no legislation that
is that a better way of doing things?
It's still it's a better way to maintain your independence, but it's not a better way to create generational wealth. I mean, what wealth are you creating there? On YouTube, you're not creating wealth from putting up your film. You're getting it out there, sure, and it could be picked up elsewhere, but in the international market, it's so saturated. I mean, Hollywood alone, you can imagine the amount of of ideas that are pitched to networks all the time,
HBO.
to studios. They've got so many studios, so many networks. We just are not on that scale. So imagine the people who are not getting commissioned in the States.
Dude, after listening to you, I don't know why people want to be actors, bro.
Well, definitely not for the money.
Yeah.
Definitely not for the money. You've got to find.
So knowing this, why do you still act, bro?
Because I love it.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah, I love I love storytelling. I've always been drawn to stories, growing up, and I love filmmaking. The process of shooting something, the process of putting on a play. You're working with a bunch of people intently for like a month, 2 months, 3 months. In this case, with television, it's like up to a year at a time. And it's a fun process. It's a fulfilling process. Not always a fun process, but fulfilling. Yeah.
What do you think can be done to change? Like a lot of women have been coming out now saying they're being ill-treated at work.
Yeah.
By some of the co-stars and et cetera, et cetera. What do you think can happen?
Well, what needs to change is it's the culture of men thinking they can get away with whatever they want on set. I've seen it. I've witnessed it on
For
some
real?
productions. Yeah, on some productions that I've been on.
What would you witness?
Well, a situation whereby something is asked of an actress, right? Let's say it's a nude scene or something.
Okay.
And something is asked of an actress, and
You've
it's
got
like,
a fair share of those ones, eh?
well, not really. I mean, on the Queen, we played fairly safe. There's not much nudity.
Intersections, man.
Okay, intersections was another story, because of the story. But but something was asked of an actress in a scene that wasn't really planned for, and to be fair, I don't think the director really knew what he was trying to get. And he made it seem like it was made to seem like, this actress must do a certain thing that she wasn't 100% comfortable with in order to get the shot, right? And it was really rushed. It was really sort of carelessly done. And afterwards, I really had to ask myself, like, Loy, if ever you're in another situation like that, you have to say something. You have to do something. I spoke to her afterwards, and I was like, look, I'm sorry, I didn't do more. It was tacky. You know what I mean? And you don't do that to people on the day. It's fine if you're comfortable to do like a full frontal nudity scene if you know about it beforehand, and you can say, well, I'm comfortable with this, I'm not comfortable with that, but you don't on the day just go, okay, take your top off or do this or do that. There's a sensitivity that needs to be part of the culture of what we do, and oftentimes it's not there. Because let's be fair, often a lot of things can be said by someone who's just not sensitive to the room and can't read the room and go, okay, that comment or that joke is not this is not the place for that joke. And let's not forget it's work, right? So if you wouldn't do that in your office, don't do it on set. That's always the kind of mindset you have to have. It's like, just because we're in, jeans and sneakers the whole day doesn't make it any less work. So you still have to be professional,
Yeah.
And if your partner was here, would you be saying the things you're saying? Would you be doing the things you're doing?
So what do you think?
For men and women,
What do you think needs to change then?
It's a culture, man.
Culture, man.
And also productions need to take it seriously. For example, I know something that they imagine, even in the States, they're pushing for to be made standard is to have a sensitivity coach. Especially for intimate scenes, right? So someone who's a trained actor, trained performer, who can go just oversee, almost like a creative director, kind of oversee the scene and go, okay, is this necessary? Does this move the story forward? Why are they naked? Right? For example, do they have to be naked? We don't do that. We kind of shoot like guerrilla filmmaking style. It's like, okay, we're running out of time. When you sit there, camera's gonna be.
How do you guys do the sex scenes? Do you actually put it in? Like,
no, fuck. No, it's simulated sex.
So how does it? I've always wondered, like, what happens?
No, it depends on the scene, but like literally, I've never been. There's no need generally to be like 100% nude. You're so clothed, under the sheets.
So you guys are just grinding.
Not even sometimes. There's a way you can do it where you're hardly even touching each other.
What?
Right? it's a bit like a dance. If you choreograph the whole thing, because remember there's a camera. You can't just free flow and then the camera, there's no shot for the director. So if he says the camera's over there and it's kind of wider shot, you've got a bit more freedom, but it's freedom to express something, right? Because you're still pushing a story forward. So it's the most unnatural.
And you don't get a hot on, bro?
Nah, I've never.
For real?
No. It's impossible. I don't understand how one would. You know what I mean? Like, it's the most unnatural process. You've got a room full of crew who are thinking about when's lunch and, and just want to go home and be with their family. It's not really the time to get all romantic and oh yeah, I'm feeling myself. Nah, keep that shit at home.
Shit. And the girl, nothing as well.
No, that's the way it should be, because it's not a personal thing. Yeah. It's not Loyiso and whoever the actress is. It's the two characters.
I don't think I could.
I mean, you can act with somebody you hate.
Yeah.
And convince, and play convincingly that you're in love.
Bro, you're holding a bum, bro.
Yeah.
Nothing
That's
happens.
acting. That's acting.
I could never be an actor, bro.
No, it's not that difficult. If you respect the work and you're professional about it, it's not that difficult at all.
So when you see like females being violated, in the workspace that you're in, does that trigger you being molested when you were young?
I think on some level, yeah, it's kind of informed my approach to everything. Especially when it comes to, like, we're talking about sex scenes and. I always want to maintain that professionalism because I don't want to make anyone feel awkward. At the same time, I don't want to feel awkward.
Yeah.
So if there's anything uncomfortable for me, I'll say, and I'll always ask if the other person is okay. Like, if you're uncomfortable with something, it's okay to say no to this, right? Like, you can say, no, I'm not comfortable with shooting the scene.
Tough, please give me another one day.
Yeah. The problem is a lot of the time, people don't think they have a right to say, I'm uncomfortable doing this. It's a weird kind of thing where it's just assumed that you're like cattle. You stand there, say your lines, look pretty, fuck off. And I think that's the culture that we have to get away from.
What made you want to come out and talk about your story? Because mostly, we always think about females, not guys.
Yeah, and I think that had something to do with it. But at the time, I was also working with an organization, the Bravado Movement, who'd approached me because they were looking to work with teenage boys, just have discussions with boys. And I always felt, it was a good time to just be transparent. I mean, if I'm going to come to your school and have a chat with you about sex and about all this weird stuff or whatever that the boys bring up, and ask some really straightforward, honest questions, I should be transparent too. It's again, I hate preaching, so I never really wanted to get there and just preach to these kids.